Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, guys? And thank you for tuning in to another episode. We got a special guest today, and I feel very fortunate that she hopped on with me because she's just a beautiful, kind soul, and I think that you guys are going to get a lot of value out of this episode. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. Make sure you leave us a rating and a review, and let's get to it.
I guess so.
3, 2, 1. We are in it, folks. And I got a fun, special guest with me today. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm good. I'm nervous, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to have you on today. We get to talk about you a lot in the podcast.
Yes, some of my favorite things, talking about myself. This is really, really getting me out of my comfort zone now.
So this is one of our pre-recorded episodes that we're going to release while we are away.
Yes.
So we are going to record this now on January 16th, but it's going to come out in about 2 weeks from now.
Okay, 2 weeks.
All right, so you're going to have to wait to hear yourself for 2 weeks, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
But the listeners are here because they saw your name in the title and they want to get
Yes.
to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
Now, as a nice little icebreaker for you before we even get to know who you are,
Yes.
at the CrossFit Max holiday party,
Yeah.
we did a nice trivia.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And we asked the folks, what is Coach V's favorite CrossFit movement?
Yep. I remember
And
that.
everyone got it wrong. Mm-hmm. Tell them, what is your favorite movement for the people who don't know who you are? What is your favorite CrossFit
Well, the
movement?
answer was pull-ups.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's just one of those movements that I was so bad at
Okay.
to start with. And with a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of guidance, I have managed to get them and be really efficient and good at them. So I think that's part of the reason why I really do enjoy pull-ups.
Okay.
And so that's
I would also say a lot of hard work.
a lot of hard work. Yeah,
you-
absolutely.
You worked really hard towards getting those pull-ups.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
What is the best, let's say, kipping pull-ups that you can do unbroken?
Oh my God, I should know this.
You
But
tested
know
this
me
only
in
a few
numbers.
weeks ago.
I know, but numbers and
More-
my memory together is
More than 10?
more than 10.
More than 15?
I think more than 15. I think I hit
Oh.
maybe the 19 or 20 mark,
Okay.
if that's possible.
That's pretty darn
Yeah,
good.
that's pretty darn good.
And we've
yeah.
been working on your chest to bar.
Yes,
And you finally got your chest to bar
I
now.
finally got them. Yeah,
What's
still
the?
working.
Do you know what the unbroken set is at? That's a little bit lower.
It's a bit lower.
Yeah.
I think I could chain maybe 2,
Okay.
but it's still on the lower
Okay.
end of.
Just having a little bit of difficulty on
Yeah.
that last couple inches
Exactly.
to get the chest to the bar.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was kind of fun. We put you on the spot and you didn't tell anybody.
I did not.
And even for those who were at the CrossFit Max party and thought that only her table got it right.
I know it looked very suspicious, but
But the reason why is because you had your close friends at that
yeah.
table.
Yes.
And the
yes.
close ones always know.
Yeah, and Marissa knew right away. I'm like, oh my God, she knew right away. I'm like, I can't look at her anymore. This is no.
So I think, what did people mostly guess? Was it cleans?
I think so, and
think
that's
that-
funny because
yeah.
it's one of those movements at that time that I was struggling with, and I'm like, oh my God, I hate cleans. I've been having this love and hate relationship with it because it's just a frustrating movement. Technically speaking, I think I'm just missing something, and yeah, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore at some point, right? But I'm rebuilding my love for them.
Yeah.
But I think that's what CrossFit is all about, right? It's just, there was a quote that I saw today on that Coach RX thing. It's progress isn't a line, it's a zigzag.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just, you have days where everything works out really well. And then there are those training sessions that it's just oh my God, what am I doing today? And I still experience that after, 2 years of doing this. So
How many years have you done CrossFit for?
I'd say, seriously speaking, maybe I think since I started here.
Since open?
Yeah.
Since CrossFit Max opened?
Yeah, since
Okay.
CrossFit Max opened. Before then, it was at the other gym that you worked at.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't doing it really seriously. It was just move.
Yeah.
And my daughter's daycare was close by. So I would just,
Okay.
do the 3 p.m. class, then pick her up. And it was just, it was just move, really.
Yeah.
And, but seriously, I think that was about a year I
Okay.
did that. And then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
So less than a year, I think, at the other gym. Then COVID hit. And of course, everything just stopped.
Everything closed. The world closed down.
Exactly. It closed down.
Were you working out during that
I was
time?
doing you and Susie's little...
Yeah, you were doing yoga.
Yeah, you had that online...
Yeah, we started an online company called Blossom, which was cool. A little throwback there.
Yes.
We did some training.
Yeah.
Susie did a lot of like live Zoom, live yogas through Zoom, which was cool.
And then there were a lot of free Instagram, influencers or just trainers who were offering free workouts. So like I followed some of those people. So I did some of their classes just to keep moving and keep sane, right?
Okay.
But at some point, it's like when you're working out on a screen, I'm like, okay, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into how you got to CrossFit Max. I would love for the listeners to know this. So like you mentioned, I used to coach you at the other gym I was working at. Was that must have been pre-COVID, so 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah.
And it was about a year that I coached you?
Yep.
What are your memories of me coaching you back then?
Oh my gosh, memories of I just think you were like this young, really nice guy, and you're like, that was my memories.
I must have been quite rusty at that moment.
Not at all.
Oh, no?
No, not at all. No, I think the team was really good back at that gym. I mean, everyone was knowledgeable, and you were very motivating, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I definitely learned a lot from LP and Julien at that time.
Yes.
But so I remember when you first, did you get the founders pack at CrossFit Max?
I have no idea.
No, I don't know I think you literally got a membership right after we opened, but I don't think you were one of the founding members.
No, I wasn't, because I started CrossFit maybe even at another gym in El Bazar at the time, and then the schedule changed, and I'm like, well, I can't, unfortunately can't make those other times, so I'm like, I need to find another place.
So you were at El Bazar and then you came to CrossFit Max?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
I was there for a few months. And so because of the scheduling, it just didn't work out, and I had to kind of find another spot. And I ended up at...
right here?
Yeah.
Oh, was it here?
No,
the other? At the other one. Okay, gotcha. At the other CrossFit gym. Got you. Okay,
Yes.
So then you were there for a year.
I was there for a year, and I remember I had emailed... LP. And
yes.
LP was the one I'm like, I kind of have some CrossFit experience.
Yes.
And there, what do I do? So no, come in for a group class. And I was so intimidated because it was a big gym. There were a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
I think at the time we were like 200 members, 200 plus members before COVID.
Yes. And I'll never forget. LP's like, oh, you're Vanessa? I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's me. It's like, come come closer. I'm like, okay, all right. Because it was like a trial class that you had offered.
Yeah.
And he was just super nice. He was present and he was talking to me, and he's like, okay, so let's make this happen. How many times a week can you come? I'm like, okay, let's start with 3 times a week. And that's when I just decided to continue.
Okay.
And again, the intention was really just to get moving. And I wasn't really taking it. I wasn't tracking my progress. Okay, front squat, whatever. I'm going by feel.
Okay.
All right, this feels good.
Did you log your scores? Or
not at all.
Not at all. Oh,
not
wow.
at all.
What a night and day difference from now to then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you trained there for a year. COVID hit.
Yeah.
But you were not a founding member of CrossFit Max, or you didn't get the founders pack?
No, I did not.
So like the backpack.
No,
the
it took me about a month because I was following. Yeah, exactly.
Because it wasn't right at the beginning.
Wasn't right at the beginning.
But it was really close to.
Really
and I was like,
close.
darn, why didn't you just get the founders pack?
I know.
I remember being that close.
Yes.
But I also remember getting an email or some sort of request for you to come and try the gym.
Yes.
And thinking, oh, wow, that's a name that I know.
Yes,
that's a name.
Yes.
And every person at the beginning, especially when you're a new business and you're, from the business aspect, you're starting this new gym. You invested a lot of your money, a lot of your time. And then you're thinking, shit, what happens if no one shows up, But then I got your email and I remember thinking, oh shit, it's actually happening.
It's happening, yeah.
So you're one of the first people outside of our big promotion for this grand opening and everything. You're one of the first people that reached out to us. And not only that, it was also someone that I knew and I coached.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh wow, okay, I could do this.
Yes,
we have something here,
Yeah.
And it was really fun because then you did join, you started training, and was kind of cool because I told you, was it this week that I told you that I was going through memories on my phone?
God, yeah.
And I saw you and Sandra squatting, like front squatting.
Yeah.
And you look so different.
Oh my God. I would love to see that.
I'll send it to you after. We have like this headband on.
Oh my God.
you can tell there's a visual difference. Not in like not that you've like lost a crazy amount of weight. You're still about the same body weight.
Yes, yeah.
You can definitely tell that your movement is much better now compared to then.
Yeah.
And also
on
your body composition. No, on all days for you. Don't say that. Very good at moving here.
Yeah.
But so you had joined early on, and then you've been here since the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you took a pretty big life change.
Yes, I'm
in the last
in the process
year.
of changing. Yeah.
So before we get into that life change,
Yeah.
let the people know a little bit about yourself, a little background about yourself, your life, family, stuff like that, what you've done for work and your career and everything. So.
Oh my God, where do you want me to start? Like
let's start with your family, right? Because people want to know a little bit about who you are.
I'm a wife. I'm a mom of an 8-year-old daughter.
Beautiful daughter, Karina.
Yeah. And I've been a teacher for 20 years. Like I went from family to work right away because you see, I'm a very private person. So, it's like, family life. Yeah, it's a close-knit family. I've got...
You're Italian.
I'm Italian, yes.
You got your mom's 70th birthday this
Yes,
absolutely.
Weekend. So I've been planning that. I got an older sister, younger brother, and we're really close. It's like we're good. We're good. 3 kids. I'm the middle child, which is a great place to be because you're kind of left on your own, which is great. Okay. So you could do what you want, basically. But it's I feel like it's kind of shaped my personality in that sense. Like I like to be on the sidelines. I'm not someone who likes attention on me, which is really weird because here I am coaching and I became a teacher. Right. So you have like these sets of eyes on you constantly and I'm like, oh my God. But it shifts. Like, it really changes. Like, okay, it's not about attention on me. I'm here to like guide people, which is something that I really enjoy doing. I went on a tangent there, but...
No, it's good. You know what Susie would say? Susie's the 3rd child.
Okay.
And she would say that she had to fight for all the attention.
Oh, really?
And she always says that we're a good match because a 3rd child has to be with a 1st child. So I'm the oldest. I have a younger brother. Yeah. But meaning she had to, because being a firstborn, I'm willing to allow more the attention to go somewhere else because the younger one needs the attention. The youngest needs typically more the attention. Yeah. As you get older, I guess that's the case.
Yes.
Versus the youngest one has to fight and get all that attention.
See, that's funny because I experienced that as the middle child, but I think it's because my sister, like she's the oldest, and she was very protective of me when I was born. So I got a lot of attention from her. But my sister's a big personality. Okay. So she's funny, she's charismatic.
Is she like the stereotypical Italian?
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like pinch your cheeks.
Yes. Yeah.
Very loud.
Very loud.
Super loving.
Yes. She's like, she's taller than me and she's just like, takes a lot of presence. And
yes, that would be the stereotypical Italian woman.
Well, there you go. And people gravitate towards her because she's got like this natural presence.
She's the oldest one?
She's the oldest,
okay, gotcha.
So she takes a lot of attention. So I think what happens is the second born sort of takes on a different personality. So I'm like completely different. I'm very like quiet. And then my younger brother, who was born a year later, is the boy of the family, the first boy. Yay, woohoo. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you don't matter anymore, So that was kind of my experience.
Okay.
Like the invisible child, know? But I'm like, okay. At first it used to get to me as a child. I'm like, I want this attention. And I'm like, oh man, this is great. I could... And it's to an extreme where, like, my mom's like, hello, are you alive? Did you call me? Like, is everything okay?
Gotcha.
So I think that's
and you have
the dynamic of, like, where your
ranking is.
Yeah, your ranking is and the personality of your other siblings. I think you sort of have to complement that.
And you have one daughter, Karina.
Yes.
How do you find she's more like you or more like your husband?
She's a mix of both of us. She really is a mix of both of us.
What do you think she has the best of? Like, what characteristics does she have the best of from her mom, and which ones from her father?
She's
the best
super
ones?
kind. She's very kind.
She gets that more from you?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Kind, compassionate.
She must kind also, but
no, he is.
not to say that because you're the
he's
kind
very
one, he's
kind.
not
No.
the kind one, but just to say that she gets the kindness.
I'm extra
mostly.
kind.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
I agree with that.
I'm extra
yeah.
kind.
If you know Vanessa, you know she's very, very kind.
Yeah, I'm
gentle soul.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very empathetic. I could feel people's energy really well. So yeah, and I feel that Karina gets that. Like she'll just tell me things that happened to her at school. Like, she's going, a friend is going through something, and Karina will be the first one to kind of step in and sort of help her out.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, so it's something that I've observed in her.
And she's 8, right?
She's 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very young age to be even doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's great.
And in terms of like resembling her dad, I think she's just she's very serious. She's just, although she can be silly, she's also really serious and mature. And my husband is like that. Like he's younger than me, but he's so mature, right?
He's a lawyer too, right?
Yeah,
he's a lawyer as well.
He's a lawyer as well, and
exactly.
so she has that kind of maturity. Maybe it's because she's an only child, so she's always like a third wheel, right?
Okay, yeah.
She's with 2 adults all the time. This poor daughter of mine, but that kind of answers your question.
So that's a summary of who you are, or what your life has been like.
Exactly.
Now, let's go back to your life change here.
Yeah.
So you said that you've been a teacher for the last how many years?
I still am.
Still am. Yeah. So 20
years, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly 20 years?
Yeah, it'll be 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell them a little bit about the change you've made, because obviously you're coaching at CrossFit Max now.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that transition from being a teacher. What was are you still teaching right now?
Right now, I've decided to take a year off. So you have to ask for a year off beforehand. So obviously I didn't make this decision like yesterday. And it didn't necessarily coincide with this opportunity of becoming a coach at CrossFit Max. Just so happened it was something that I was thinking about. After 20 years I just needed to recalibrate. It's like teaching is a very demanding job, physically, mentally, and...
what were you teaching, by the way?
I was teaching English.
Okay.
English literature with the oldest grade 12. Is that it?
Grade
Secondary
11.
5, grade 11.
Yeah, grade 11, yeah.
So I had been teaching. I made that shift. Hold on. I'll just start that over. So I was teaching the same levels for, let's say, about 10 years. Then I had my maternity leave. Went back, continued those same levels for another couple of years. And I'm like, something's got to give. Something's not working. Like the passion is it's like kind of, I don't know, sizzling, if you will. And then work-life balance was just not happening with a young child and the commute. There was a lot of things that were, okay, I got to change something, right? So I decided to change levels. I'm like, let me teach the older kids. Okay, so taught the older kids. And then COVID hit. All that happened at the same time.
Okay.
And then there was like zero work-life balance. I was working on the weekends. And so that accumulated into kind of a burnout, if you will. And I think just, getting out of that and still continuing pushing through, I'm like, oof, I'm tired. I feel tired, and I'm like not as driven as I should be in teaching right now. So I think I need to like take a step back. And I talked to a lot of other my friend teachers, and they're like, take a year off. You'll see you're gonna recalibrate. It's just the thing that you need to survive this job. I'm like, okay, let me do it. So I asked for it, and the administrators are super supportive. Like, no problem. They authorized it, and I'd always wanted to like take the level 1 class.
The CrossFit level 1.
Yeah, CrossFit level 1 class. I'm like, I just want to recalibrate, focus my attention on something that I'm really passionate about, get super fit and maybe compete, get more education. And that's when you came up with this opportunity. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I could do that. Yeah, I think I could absolutely coach.
Did you reach out to us? Did we put an ad up and then you reach out to us? I actually can't remember.
No. I think just I think you just found out that I was taking a year off, and then you sent me a message on.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like what that was like. Yeah, so I shot you a message. And
yes. And I think Tommy was just like, you guys were approaching like that date,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
She's like, okay, we gotta find someone to like sort of, and that's when you and Susie sat down with me, or like, we think you'd be great.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, okay, yes, awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I remember now because you had mentioned something about wanting to do personal training.
Yes, personal training, taking a year off, and
Yeah. And then I was like, wait, hold on a second. Well, if you're taking a year off and you're into personal training, maybe you might be actually interested into coaching CrossFit.
Yeah. So that's how that transition happened. And yeah, now we're here. Here we are.
How many months has it been since you've been coaching? Or since you've stopped working, it's been like 6-7 months?
Yeah, I guess so.
Since last summer?
June, so last summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literally since Tommy was born.
So that's exactly it. So I ended the school year, then got to level 1 and started coaching.
Okay.
So it's about 6 months.
Yeah. And how are you feeling? Obviously, you felt that burnout and you felt like you need to take a year.
Yes.
You have a decision to make whether you want to go back to teaching.
Yes.
We won't put you on the spot now on the podcast.
I haven't
This is a massive decision to make.
Massive decision, yes.
So we won't put you on the spot on
don't
air
worry
here.
about that.
But
No.
But what I want to know is how have you been feeling over the last 6-7 months not teaching?
I feel great.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, I feel great. I do.
Maybe
I'm not
this
gonna lie.
podcast is going to give you all the answers when you listen back.
It feels good. I do miss, I miss the kids. I miss my material. There's that magic that happens in a classroom, but that I still kind of get here.
Yeah.
Because teaching and coaching is kind of similar in that sense, and
just working with a bunch of children.
No. But children, I want to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like people they want to be here and they want to be coached and they want to improve. So I still get that. What's the word I'm looking for? That experience.
Yeah.
Right. Minus the grading of the papers and the admin work that goes behind, teaching and not being able to sit down for lunch and eating and working at the same time. It's like just this rushed feeling that I can't really fully describe unless you're a teacher. You're in it. Yeah. And I think those of you that are I'm thinking of Lori, she completely, we've talked about this so many times. It's very demanding. It's like a rush for like a good, that school year.
Yeah.
And that's why the calendar is set up in a certain way. Like you've got 2 weeks off in the holidays, then you've got another week off in spring break. So you're just making it to those.
Yeah.
Like I ended up, okay, I need to hold on for a few more weeks and then I'm going to have another break. I'm like, I can't live like this, just want to experience life and be patient when I come home. I think that's the main difference that I'm noticing. I'm just a lot more patient. I have a lot more time. When I get home and Karina has to do her homework, I'm like, okay, I've got this. As
teacher of one now.
Exactly, teacher of one. So I think that's the main difference that I've recognized.
I think I got to experience you going through 2 school years, if I'm not mistaken. Because when we first opened, that was the first year.
Yes.
And then the second year, roughly the second year.
Yeah.
And I do remember, and I've explained this to you, noticing a huge difference in your energy levels when you're walking in. How you doing?
Yes.
Oh my God, stress,
It's so true.
It is definitely a night and day difference that from now to back then.
Yeah.
But that being said, like you said, there's a lot of things that that career fulfills you with emotionally, existentially, all those things, right? Which is also a big part of health. If you don't have a purpose,
absolutely,
right? If you don't have that driving purpose in life, that is one of the 6 elements of health, right? And without that, it can be very, very challenging to live a fulfilling life, to live a happy life, to want to work out and all that stuff. So existential health is very, very important.
I think that's exactly what it's all about for me. Absolutely. I mean, I've done this for 20 years and I'm like, okay, this has been my purpose, but I also don't want to just make one thing my purpose, and it goes down to identity, right? I mean, for so many years, I'm this teacher, and then you become a mother and it's like, okay, teacher's got to be pushed to the side for now because I'm a mother. And then I'm like, mother, what does that mean? I mean, so it's, And you're experiencing it too,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
when you have a young kid, you're like, oh my God, the person that I once was is no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to like, okay, who am I now? And you're fulfilling this new identity. And it's rough in the beginning. Well, at least for me, it was,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't easy. So it's like, okay, well, what's my identity? Then I went back to work. I'm like, okay, well, I cannot be the same teacher that I was before because the demands are at home are a lot more important. And so it's just constantly searching for that identity. Like, who am I?
Yeah.
And like you said, existential health is really important. And you can do everything you can do everything that you want to do, but maybe not all at once.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that's the accumulation as well. It came like, okay, well, my mother, I'm trying to do everything all at once. No, let's stop. Like try to be the best that you can in every kind of role that you're in, you know? But once it starts to affect your work-life balance, that's when I'm like, okay, no, I can't. Like I have got, and
Yeah, like your work bucket is just overfilling and it's taking up all
it's like,
the
you know,
other
I want to
things.
spend time with my family. I want to be able to like, you know, just be relaxed when I'm sitting down with Karina and doing homework, you know? So things like that, I'm like, okay, red flag, something's got to change. And especially if you get this like retirement, what are they? I forget, from Revenu Quebec at some point every year, and they tell you how many more years you have left.
Oh, really?
In teaching, yeah.
Oh,
like,
wow. I've
and
obviously
so
never done
every
this.
time I get it, I'm like, oh my God, that's how many more years I have to do this? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hold on. Like,
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's so
yeah.
interesting.
It tells you like what year you can take retirement. I'm like,
man.
wow, that's a lot of years.
Any of our listeners who are in the... Do you know what FIRE is? Financially Independent, Retire Early. You ever heard of that before?
No.
Any of the listeners who know what this is, they're like scratching their head right now like, no, I hate this. It's all about not having to wait until you're 65 to retire and everything.
Okay, all right.
But anyways, I'm sure there's at least one listener right now who is in this category of FIRE who like absolutely hates that. But that is a scary thing to see. Actually, you're like, oh my God, like this is like a timeline.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting 1 year closer to that timeline.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I guess when you start, that's like 40 years.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, 40 years. And so I'm like, okay, I'm halfway. I'm like, so that means I got another 20 years to go, and I'm just, no. And there's something that happens when you're middle-aged. Like, a midlife crisis. I don't like the word crisis because it's like a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good thing to be like, okay, so I've done this half of my life. Now what can I do next? You know, like... And so I think that's where, you know, coaching right now it's a big decision that I have to make.
Yeah, for
whether
sure.
I'm going to continue or just shift. And it's very scary. And it's like restarting something. You know, I'm very comfortable in my teaching career. Like I've got the program, like it's in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And I've got this new thing that... I mean, but I'm like having so much fun doing it,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So I think that's at the end
Anytime
of the day.
you do something new, it's super scary.
Super
but also, I feel
scary.
like you're much less new now.
Yeah.
Like now it's been 7 months, I think. 7 months roughly since you've been coaching.
Since June.
Yeah. July, August, September, October, November, December. We're in January.
Yeah.
And I think you had started before June. You had started a
I
little
was like
bit.
shadowing you.
were
Yeah,
shadowing,
yeah.
So it's been about a little bit more than 6 months now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's actually really cool from my side to see your progress from the first couple days.
Oh my God.
First couple weeks, I should
Yeah.
say, to now. And
Yeah.
even first couple months, like I feel like you've done the thing that makes a really good coach is someone that cares.
Yes.
Which, you know, you said you're kind before,
Yeah.
and that truly is the feeling you get. It's not like when someone says they're kind, it's you have to feel it.
You have to feel
it's
it.
not
Yeah,
it's not a see thing, it's a
no,
feel
exactly.
thing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I think every single one of our members who's been coached by you would definitely agree with that. So you're kind. That's the first thing. You got to care about people. And the second thing is you got to want to learn. You got to want to take feedback. You're going to have to make adjustments. And I always tell you guys, the best thing I ever did as a coach was just act like a sponge.
Yeah.
Right. I had the opportunity to be coaching around many different coaches. Like we said earlier, that gym had 200 plus members. We're a much bigger staff. I was heavily involved at the beginning on the on-ramp program, so bringing people into CrossFit.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about that, and you're learning that now.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of the on-ramp as well with Amanda. And it's different when you're in front of a group class and you're teaching people who have done CrossFit before versus when you take someone who has never done CrossFit and is now trying to make a huge life change. So that caring and being kind at the beginning is super important. They need to, that person walking into the gym needs to feel it, right? Because if they feel like this person doesn't really care about me, like you're not gonna want to sign up at CrossFit, and you're gonna probably have a bad experience. So right off the bat, that like warm greeting at the beginning from you is super welcoming. And then you learn so much about, okay, this person literally doesn't know how to squat, or this person doesn't know how to hinge. How many times have you been like, oh my goodness, this person literally, they're 40, 50 years old, sometimes even 60s, and they've never exercised before in their life. So it takes a lot of learning from a beginning stages. And I feel like now you're 6+ months in, and it's really cool from my side to see you. And even I took your class yesterday. I'm about to take your class now. And I've like thoroughly enjoyed taking your classes. Because that's a cool thing as a coach. I always feel like it's really cool when someone says like, I purposely tried to get to your class, it's not a dig at the other coaches. No. But it's just like, oh, like that's freaking cool.
It is,
you know? And I was telling Susie that I'm trying to rearrange my rest days. And I told you also that since the half marathon programming 6 months ago, I haven't worked out on a Monday.
God.
And then I was like, okay, like what? So I want to work out on Mondays because I hate not working out on Mondays. So what day do I want to change? Maybe I won't go. Maybe I won't work out on Wednesdays instead because I don't coach on Wednesdays. But then I was like, oh no, but Wednesdays are my class with Vanessa. So I literally said like it can't be Wednesday.
I do the same thing too. I'm like, I need to like. Brandon and then Amanda. I gotta
It's fun.
It is fun.
I think you've done a really good job of acting like a sponge and learning from Amanda, learning from me, learning from Susie. So obviously Susie's been a little bit more MIA on the coaching, but I feel like she's tried to help out as much as she can.
It's a good team we have, honestly. I mean, it's
we got Daphne doing it now. And the fun thing is like we've gone through this process with you. And I'm like, wow, night and day difference. And Daphne's going through the same struggles right now. And I'm like, ooh.
Daphne, if you're listening, you're going to get this. Don't worry. Don't stress too much about it. Just listen to what Brandon says. Well, mostly what he says. Mostly. Not everything.
Yeah, no. The great thing about is like you act like a sponge and you just take in information. Doesn't mean you have to spit out the same information. You manipulate explanations and words in your own way. Even like Amanda used a terminology the other day when Daphne and I were taking her class. And then I asked Daphne like, hey, how did she explain this movement, you know? And then I had her like repeat, and I was like, that's a really cool way that she explained, like I think she used the word like unlocking your knees. You know, I would personally never say that, but I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool terminology. And where I've learned probably the most in CrossFit is through social media, like YouTube, Instagram.
Totally agree.
And you're always telling me that, oh, I found this warm up on social media. I'm like, yes, that's awesome.
Yes.
There's so much free content.
So much.
And you're not social media isn't perfect.
No.
But you're going to find people, or you're going to find content that you could resonate with. And you're like, okay, like I could spin this in my language, and I think it would work really well.
That's the fun part. And I was doing this even before becoming a coach, you know, like even with Sandra, we would like send each other sort of, you know, videos, like how to improve this. And you should see our Instagram. We have collections and folders and collaborations. So it's like, now I'm just doing this, and I'm continuing doing what I'm doing, but I get to share it with everyone, you know? So I think that's been fun. I was doing it anyways. So and it allows me to be creative.
What would you say is the most similar, or maybe the things that you have found the best carryover from teaching English in a class of how many people? Like 20 to 30 kids?
38.
38. Dang, that's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids. Yeah.
So how would you feel like? What are some of the things that carried over well from teaching those kids in a classroom to teaching adults inside a group class?
I think just breaking things down. I mean, like the structure of a class. Okay. Like there's an intention, there's a focus, and we got to get to this. So it's sort of like, you know, we have our 12-week cycle. Yeah. Let's say if I'm teaching a novel, right? It's like we're going to start at this point, and these are the exercises that you're going to do to get there in order to reinvest, get to a certain outcome. So it's similar to kind of what we do here. Like we're going to start, like right now we're doing the front squats, and let's start with, you know, like heavy front squats, and we're going to move on to different training sessions to get to, that outcome.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. And I would also just kind of a funny story is yesterday, one of the priorities we're working on is the toaster bar.
Yes.
And you said something about the toaster bar being like, make sure you log your results and
Yes.
Wodify
Yeah.
because it would be really cool to retest at the end of the 12-week
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
And Lawrence was in the
like,
class and he's like, wait, there's
Oh, no.
a test? I'm not studying for this. It's like, no, Lawrence, like when we say test, we're working on these
Yes.
things for 12 weeks, and it's important for CrossFit to
Yes.
track your metrics, track your progressions, and just log your results to see, okay, on week 1, I was able to do X amount of toaster bar versus week 12, I was able to do X amount.
I felt so bad. I'm like, no, don't stress him out,
God bless that guy anyways.
Yes.
So we love Lawrence. Shout out to Lawrence for being an awesome new member who you got the opportunity to do his foundations with.
Yes.
Yeah.
My second client.
Yep.
Yep.
So how, any other like things that you feel like have carried over? What about speaking in front of a group?
Yes. Speaking in front of a group. I think that at the beginning was really stressful because, unlike children or, students who are like, they're forced to be there. And it's like, I'm like the authority. I'm older than them. Now I have like adults in front of me who are paying to be here and they want like, they're looking for a certain quality, right? So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm delivering the right message.
Yeah.
And I remember at the beginning, I would just like go through the workout, just read it really quickly and be like, okay, go. Right? Because I'm so nervous and stressed out. And I'm like, I have people like Matt or Sandra in the class. I'm like, oh my God.
There's people who you've worked out with.
Who I've worked out with who
you've
are
been next to them at the whiteboard, but you haven't been in front of them.
And like they've coached me. They've helped me with my training, right? And so I feel super intimidated. And you, like in the class, I'm like, seriously? Now I'm going to have to like coach Brandon. And then at some point, I'm like, no, you got to make a decision. It's like, this is not sustainable. If you're going to be nervous every time Brandon's in the class or Sandra's in the class, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to do this. So like, make a choice. You're their coach.
Yeah.
Get on
Coaching
with that.
hat is
exactly.
on.
Coaching hat is on. Look at everyone in their eyes. They're people after all, and just do it and be. Take a deep breath and go for it. And if you mess up, you mess up. You learn. Brandon will give you feedback and let you know. But no, so it's like a conscious decision that I made. I'm like, okay, gotta just breathe. And I think that carried over from teaching. It's like, okay, you got this. I wrote my structure down. I know where I'm headed. I did the research. I did the legwork. I asked Brandon if this was correct, and at first at some point I'm like, I don't want to bug him all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my husband, like, you're a boss. What would you want? Like, should I ask him? He's like, yeah, ask him.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you have to take initiative, show that you're independent, but at the same time, double check. If you're not sure about something, double check to make sure that that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I thank you for like, being patient and being there to help me out with that. And I promise I won't like be asking you too many questions, hopefully, in the future.
Oh, of course, I'm always here. What I actually like about that is that you never, or not never, but rarely just ask me, what is this?
Yeah.
Most of the time you said, hey, there's this movement. Did you want it to be kind of like this or
like,
kind of like this? Like you give me some sort of interpretation. Because at the beginning you would ask me that.
Yes,
and then what would I do? I would follow it up by another question.
Yes.
Because I want you.
That.
Because if someone just says like, hey, like, what do I do for this? And you just tell them the answer, then there's no learning process that happens, right? So something that I really love about when you reach out to me, you're like, hey, like I see you program this movement. Do you think it should be kind of like this or maybe even like this? Sometimes you even throw in a third option. And then I'll provide some guidance based on this. I'll be like, hey, like that option 2 that you chose was pretty solid. Yeah. I would even add a little bit of this.
And going back to like social media, where it's a great tool to learn, it can also be super confusing because you'll have like just yesterday the leg lowers. I have like multiple videos demonstrating leg lowers. I'm like, well, geez, which one is it? And then you're trying to connect it to, okay, so it's a toaster bar and what am I? So it's all that information that I love doing. I love figuring it out. But at some point it's like, okay, I need to know the answer. What's
Yeah.
Where are we going? Which movement is it? Which is the
like
correct thing?
even going back to that, like one of the things you talked about that I didn't even think about was like back position and leg lowers. Like just talking about like getting more like into that hollow position.
Yeah.
So like tucking in the ribs, like you talked about that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's an interesting point that I didn't even
I
think
thought that
about.
was totally wrong because you had said something a little different perspective. I'm like, oh no, did I say the wrong thing? And
No, but like that back position was pretty solid, right? And actually, when I was performing, I was like, oh yeah, like I actually do feel a little bit better when I just kind of pull my pelvis in and pull my ribs down, you know? So there was a cue that you gave in a group class. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that, and it worked for me while I was performing the repetitions.
Okay, cool,
right?
Nice.
But yeah, so when someone just says like, hey, what's the answer? It's like, whoa, hold on a second. Like we do this with athletes in the class.
Yeah.
You know, like when someone's like, hey, should I do like what,
so
like what am I doing here? You know, or what weight? It's like, okay, well, hold on a second. You want me just to tell you an arbitrary number of how much you should go on the barbell right now? What did you do last week? How many reps did you do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, based on how did you feel last week? Did you feel like you went really hard? And you're like, oh yeah, like I failed on my last set, you know? It's like, okay, well, we're doing the same rep scheme this week. Well, maybe we can't get to that same weight. I can't just tell you to go heavier. Oh, actually last week I felt like I could have gone much heavier. All right, well, let's get that last set that you chose. Let's keep that weight for the first set this week, and then let's reassess, you know? So if you just tell people the answer, either from an athlete or a coaching perspective, the learning curve is just not there.
Yeah.
And I feel like now you've done a really good job of being like, hey, like when you program this, like would you think this and this, or this movement I'm thinking more like this and this.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. Cool.
I forgot what we're talking. Oh yeah, the carryover, right?
Yes.
Do you feel? And sorry, something that you said that I wanted to touch on was when you did your first group class, when you first coached your first group class.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought this, and I remember Susie was at home, and she was thinking like we had talked about this. We're like, yeah, Vanessa's used to like coaching in front of 20 to 30 people. And now I found out 38 people. 38. And I remember we had like it was a decent class. It was about 10 people, I think. And I remember you getting up in the whiteboard and just like blowing up, like just butchering it and not knowing what to say.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was in my head, I was like, oh my goodness. Like I was not expecting that at all. But that is the case for every new coach. I've done that. Mentors of mine have done that. You know, Daphne kind of had a moment like that the other day. Okay. You know, she's getting better at doing that. But I remember the first one thinking like, Vanessa's going to crush this explanation.
Yeah.
She's used to coaching so many people. Like, she's used to teaching so many students. And then it was a class of 10 people. And then you were like, it's all like over the place, and then just like stop talking. And I was like, holy shit. And then you forgot what you were saying.
Yep.
And then I remember as a new coach hitting kind of like you just see black.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You completely don't know
like stage
what you're
fright.
saying.
Yep.
People in front of you are not there anymore. And then you have
exactly
no words.
What happened. No words. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do to get out of this? And it's like a blank. I can't even remember like how, but
I remember going home after and being like, and Susie being like, so how did Vanessa do?
I know.
And I was like, well,
oh no.
She kind of butchered the explanation.
Yeah.
She wasn't as great as I don't know why we anticipated this, but you know, it's just because it's such a new environment and you're not teaching English literature or doing a book report with a class.
It's so different. Like you could easily wing like a literature class because you feed off what the students. Well, I could.
You could if you put me in that situation.
That's
definitely.
True.
Like I'm not gonna wing. I'm gonna need a full curriculum. Kind of like how we talk about coaching right now.
Yeah.
Like you have to have a full class plan right now. You have to create your full warm up like way before. Whereas I can just get thrown into a class and be like, okay, this is the movements. Okay, these are the types of warm ups that I want. I'm just gonna like kind of go.
Yeah.
But that takes time, right?
It does.
But if you told me to stand in front of a classroom of 38 students and teach English literature,
but what I mean is
screwed.
But what I mean is like teaching movement. There's a right way of doing it, you know. Like whereas
not
literature,
not necessarily. No? It's not black and white, because like you said, like you taught the leg raises slightly different than what I taught them yesterday.
Yeah,
but there's no like unless you really put someone in a compromised position, meaning if you were to tell someone to just deadlift with a completely rounded back,
Yeah.
then I would be like, okay, Vanessa, like that's actually wrong. We can't have that, right?
Okay.
They
Yes,
need
yes,
to be in
yes.
a neutral position.
Yeah.
But the way in which you can teach things, it's not necessarily black and white.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's probably the same thing for English literature, whereas
Yes.
I would think it would be, okay, that has to be by the book.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think that's what's really cool about being an English teacher versus like a math teacher or, but you know what? Being a teacher is less about the subject. It's really, and the same thing with coaching. It's about the connections.
Yes.
It's the way that the students are feeling, the way that the athletes are feeling. It's like, okay, yeah, you have an exam here, but you know what? At the end of the day, how did you feel in Miss T's class? How did you feel in Coach B's class? You felt like seen, you felt validated, you felt that you were guided. And I think that's what matters at the end of the day.
I just realized something you said. People called you Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T,
Yeah,
and we call
Miss
you
T.
Coach V for
Coach
your
V.
first name.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, got to keep that separation
That
of like,
separation,
I'm the adult here, right?
Okay, let's talk about CrossFit.
Yes.
What have you felt has been the biggest life changes, not in a career standpoint, because obviously you're still deciding whether you're going to go continue coaching CrossFit or teaching. You're probably going to have a huge amount of people reach out to you saying you must continue coaching.
Please give me, or not.
No, people will definitely
Or
not say that one. But what from maybe just an athlete perspective or a life perspective, besides the career shift, how did you feel like CrossFit has impacted you?
It's just my mental health. It's like it's my therapy. I'm
Okay.
gonna be honest. It's like it's a no-brainer for me. If I'm not doing this, I'm not recognizable.
Okay.
I'm irritable. I'm like sad.
interesting.
I'm It's a exercise and movement is really, it's the endorphins that I get after that. Just, it's night and day. It's like it just allows me to keep going and stay motivated.
Yeah.
And also physically, like my back feels great,
Yeah.
just less achy, although sometimes if I'm pushing too much, then it's a little stiff. But ultimately speaking, it's more mental health. For me, it's about my mental health as opposed to, physical benefits are there. But just mentally speaking, I think that's the main driving force and how it's changed me.
Yeah, I would even say, going back to what you said earlier about when you were teaching prior to coaching, like the first 2 years at CrossFit Max, you had a really high stress job.
Yes.
Right. Being a mom, being a wife, being a part of an Italian family takes a lot.
Yeah.
So as busy as your life was during that like very high stressful time, props to you for still being able to get your training in consistently.
Yes.
At least, if I'm not mistaken, at least 4, if not 5 times consistently every single week.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think like a lot of people, when they first start CrossFit or first want to make that lifestyle change, like, oh, I just don't have time. Well, hold on a second. We have so many people in the gym that nobody has time.
No. Right?
Nobody has the time to do this. What we do is we make time for the things that are priority in our life.
Yes.
Right? Like if for you, hanging out with your family is super important, then you're going to make time in your life to hang out with your family. Yeah. But there might be some people that are not as close to their family. Yeah. Maybe they need the friendship relationships more.
That's it.
And being with their friends is more important. So they don't make the time to hang out with their family as much, but they make the time to hang out with their friends more.
Yes.
If reading is your thing, then you make the time to read. Yeah. Versus scrolling on social media when you shouldn't be doing that, right?
Yes.
Before bed.
Yes.
Guilty. I'm very guilty for this. Right? But
so am I.
But you have this high stress job. You're a mom, you're a wife, you got this big family, and you still prioritize training 4 to 5 times every single week.
Yes. And behind the scenes, I've got a very supportive husband who's, and we understand, we have that understanding. Like, it's like, this is punched in, this is my time, I got to do it. And it's the same thing for him. I'm trying to get him to CrossFit Max, but eventually
we got him for the neon workout once.
Eventually he will, but he's got his other things, and with Karina, it's just, it's scheduling things. But we know, okay, this is in our schedule, and we're just better people at the end of the day, when we're moving.
Yeah.
So not to take away, like, yes, I do make that time, but behind there's people that are there to support me with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've mentioned this in a previous podcast where it's like, let people know, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I want to do, and you have to support me with it. Like, this is a non-negotiable. I'm going to be training for this amount of time, this hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't, or for example, Lucy's like, after this is my message.
Work email automatically turned off.
You got to be like selfish in that way, and it's not a selfish thing. It's just like, you got to prioritize you, because then the alternative is like, I know what the alternative is. If I'm not doing this, then I'm like, I'm not at my best self. So I just got to keep doing that, you know?
We try to keep preaching that to people. You talked earlier about me becoming a dad now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best pieces of advice I heard someone say was, yes, you're having a baby, right? But this baby is coming into your world, right? And it gets really, really hard for parents. Now, obviously, there's a period of time at the beginning where the baby is just like literally dependent on you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, for example, Susie has a much more, a bigger role in the early baby stages, because literally Tommy couldn't survive without her, right? Yeah. But now he's getting a little bit older. He's now he's almost 7 months now. So Susie could be a little bit more disconnected, but still pretty much needed to be there, right? Yeah. But there's this like moment where people just become parents, and then they forget about themselves. They kind of just push themselves off to the side.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm impressed by Susie and all the moms that come here. I mean, I was not at the gym right after giving birth. I was like at home, and I was just surviving. I did like those mommy me classes, but I think, it was hard in the beginning, but it's I
just
don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, well, it's just like just prioritizing yourself, like it's a hard thing to do, but I don't know if it's selfish. I think it's like it should, like, when you put health as the priority, and I think you're the prime example of this, that everything else in your life becomes better. Your work became better, right?
Yes.
So think about those stressful times of teaching, and just like eliminating CrossFit from your life. You know, like, you're not getting the mental health aspect of it, the emotional side of things, of just being, more happy at home, more happy with your friends, with your family and stuff. There's just the physical element as well. Obviously, for some people, that's even more important. The physical side for me is very important. So, if when you set health as the priority for your life, everything else after that becomes so much better.
So much better.
And it's hard for someone who has set other things as the priority. Yeah. Their children, their partners, their work, right? And then, like, if you look at their list of like the top 5 things that are most important in their life, they're at number 5. Yeah. So how do you get someone to get, hey, health, meaning you, should be number 1, and then everything below that, work, family, friends, life, it's tough. Everything is going to be so much better. And it's like, again, like, you don't know it until you're in it, you know. And fitness came into my life later on in life. It's not like I was an athletic child. In my 20s, I had no choice. Like, I had to work. I had to, like, go to school. I had to pay my books, pay my tuition. So, like, I couldn't fit in any fitness regime or anything. It just, I literally did not have the time. So, and again, like, it took its toll on me. Yeah. At a certain point, like, I can't, this is too much. Like, something's got to give. So, I had to readjust things, reduce my course load, but I kept going. Okay, let's just keep going. I wanted getting an education for me was really important. So yeah, physical fitness was not. I was doing other physical fitness, like, dancing, going to the clubs. That was my priority when you're in your 20s. Coach V on the speakers.
Exactly. Well, yeah, pretty much. So, I think teaching started, and I'll never forget this. The mentor that I had, she was an older woman. She's like, you know what? In order to be a teacher, you got to be mentally strong, but you got to be physically strong. And I like completely judged her. I'm like, what is she talking about? Like, she's older than me. Like, I'm young. I'm like physically healthy. I'm strong. And I'll never forget that first year of teaching. It took a toll on my body, like just carrying the books. Yeah. And I didn't have a car. Like, I was poor. Like, I couldn't afford a car, so I was commuting and just carrying the books, all the farmers carry, right? And I'm like, I would be beat up at the end of the day. I'm like, my knees were aching. I'm like, this is not normal. I'm like 20 years old. This is not a normal feeling, right? And I mean, I had to leave that job because there wasn't a full-time load. And then I got a full-time position at the school that I'm teaching at now. And it was a student that got me into this fitness. She's like, the gym teachers put on this kind of competition where, students had to accumulate, let's say for every block of physical activity that you do, you gain points, right?
Oh, cool.
So they were just trying to get the students active and the staff. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's not for me. But look at me now, right? I would crush a competition like that now. So I had a student approach me and she's like, Miss, would you like to be our mentor? And I'm like, honey, you're asking me, right? The English teacher, do you see I don't move? And she was a speed skater. She was very athletic. She's like, no, Miss.
How tall are you, by the way? Just so the listeners know.
I'm 5'1".
5'1", okay. 5'1", little 5'1", Vanessa Tino.
Oh, my
Miss
God.
T over there.
Yeah. And I'm like, are you sure, Annie? Sure. Yeah, Miss. Sure. Well, look, it's your opportunity now to get fit. It's your opportunity, Miss.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, man, I can't let this kid down. Like, I got to do it. So I ended up signing up at a gym.
Oh, cool.
Just because of this. And then, wow, night and day, I'm like, well, okay, now I understand why my mom is at the gym all the time. Now I understand why why there's this big industry behind this fitness industry. And like, I feel so much better. I feel physically better, mentally better. And then I just, from that point on, just kept on trying to be active.
Okay. Wow, that's incredible.
It's incredible because of that one student that just like, she got me into like, changed my life. But CrossFit changed my life more.
I was going to ask you to end the podcast. I was going to ask you if there was a memory you had that really like flipped this script for you. And I think that was kind of it, right? I think I answered it. Yeah. That's crazy. That was my final question for you. And you just nailed it. That's crazy. So one little moment like that changed your entire outlook and maybe even change the entire direction of your life.
Yes.
Which is so crazy.
Yes, and you'll ask my sister and my mom. I remember they would go to the gym often, and they had me come with them. And I forget there was like the stepmaster,
cross trainer,
and it's like I had to get off the step machine because I couldn't keep up. I'm like, Mom, I'm seeing I can't do this. And my sister was like so angry. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm supposed to be working out here.
Yeah.
And I have to take care of you now because you're fainting. I'm like, I don't know. I just can't. I was in such bad shape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I don't ever want to feel like that again,
Wow.
So
that is
night
incredible.
And day. It's incredible.
Night and day.
Night and day.
Yeah. I will end the podcast on a memory, a scary memory that I had, and we'll talk about how you overcame this.
Yep.
Because I think maybe some people can relate to this. But so we're dropping this episode. We're going to be in Australia for a little bit more than a week at this point. Was it last year when I was in Australia? So last year when I was literally leaving Australia, I want to paint the picture here. Susie and I are in line boarding the flight from Sydney to Vancouver, which is a 14-hour flight.
Oh, man.
No service.
Talk about
nothing.
Timing.
We start inching our way up. They start allowing people to board the plane. We're in line. They called up our number, so we're standing there. We're going. We're forward. Maybe 20 people in front of me. And I get a text message that there was an incident that happened at the gym. Not going to have service for 14 to 15 hours on my phone. And you had a little stumble.
Yeah.
So you were practicing one of your favorite movements, the pull-up.
Chest to bar.
Chest to bar.
It was the chest to bar,
You were practicing the chest to bar, and you had slipped off the bar.
Yeah.
And you had fallen on your head pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Right? And an ambulance had to come.
Yeah, it knocked me out. It was...
Yeah, you were out.
I was out.
Yeah. Luckily, you were able to stand up and move by yourself at the end, or no?
No, I stayed on the ground because it was
Good.
a pretty bad fall, and like I knocked out. And Marissa, Sandra, and Amanda were like, "No, you're staying put.
Stay put.
Like, in case you broke something."
Yeah, gotcha.
I couldn't have done it without those 3 girls that day. I.
So I'm getting on the flight, and I get this text that an ambulance has come to pick up Vanessa because you've fallen and hit your head on the floor. And I am like instant panic. Like,
Kidding.
like needed to know.
Yes.
Absolutely had to know.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thrilled that I got that text
Yeah.
message. Just the timing was
yes.
so rough because
Yeah.
all I could think about in that entire
There's nothing to do.
And
yeah.
also when you leave from Australia, luckily I was coming back, but when you're leaving from Australia to come here, it's like it's in the morning. So I am like not in a state of going to bed. I'm like literally in a state of like I'm going
You're
to
alert.
sit and
Yeah.
be alert on this
Yeah.
plane for 14
Nice.
to 15 hours. And I'm just thinking, fuck, I can't believe like Vanessa is like, hope she's okay. Like hope it's nothing serious. And in the end, you ended up having a concussion.
Yeah. Yes.
So nothing was broken in the end.
Nothing was broken.
And I just, a lot of people might hear that, okay, like there was an injury that happened or something that goes on in someone's life where they do a movement incorrectly
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just like stop exercising.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a very, I don't know how to say it, but very, not proud, but very impactful or moment where I saw you like progress to try to come back to the gym as fast as you can, because that was a pretty serious one.
Yeah.
You slipped off the bar, you hit your head on the ground, you had an ambulance come here.
Yeah.
Probably by far the most serious accident we've had here. And within like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Was it 2 weeks?
It was 2 weeks. Yeah. They
You
give
were
you like
like-
a 14-day sort of protocol to follow.
And you stuck with it. You went to go see some physio for some exercises.
Yes.
And
You helped me out a lot with that because like I said, if I'm not moving,
yeah.
I could easily go back into like a depressive state of like I'm not doing anything, I'm not touching any weights, I'm not walking, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I can go there. And I remember you would program me like, okay, go out for a walk, and I'm
Yes.
like, I'm not ready, like I don't want to go outside.
Yes.
And my husband's like, you better go, come
Yeah.
on, listen to him. I'm like, oh my God, I'm 10. And I was just like, and I'll never forget that it was winter. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm like, I just want to go home. And I literally like just walked up and down my street, right?
Yes.
Stay close. And then I hear this dog bark. I'm like, oh, I get startled. Like,
Yeah.
seriously? It's like I'm starting all over because
Yeah.
we've worked on my fear, like, right? Like I'm, So it was a doozy. I'm not going to lie, but just keep moving. I think that's the thing with concussions now is they say you got to keep moving until you like small little increments of movement.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I have this, if someone's telling me what to do, I'll follow. Like, but it's not going to come from me, especially if I'm in that state of like, fear and rehabilitation. I need someone to kind of tell me what to do.
But it was very like the word I was looking for is like motivational. It was very motivating to see someone have that. And then within 2 weeks, you're like, okay, like I'm ready to go. I'm like, whoa, like we're not doing this movement.
Yes.
We're not doing that movement. We're going to get you on a bike first.
Yeah.
We're not going to get you upside down. We're not going to do our handstand push-ups now.
Yeah.
And then also there was the CrossFit Open,
I know.
which the Open is going to be happening real soon.
Yeah.
And you still participated in it.
I was like so bummed because I was so ready to do it and give my all last year. Yeah. And then that happened. I'm like, wow, this is okay. All right.
Well, we
am I even going to be able to participate?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, do you think I'm able to do it, Brandon? Because we'll see. Don't like one day at a time. And I was able to do it. I wasn't my 100%. Yeah. But I was able to do it.
Yeah. And you crushed it.
I crushed it. I did
really
pretty
cool.
good. I did pretty well. Yeah.
So I've just yesterday literally programmed the next, I think, 3 weeks worth of group classes.
Okay, cool.
My brain was like a big pile
That's
of
good.
much after that with all the different exercises
it's a
and
good
going
feeling,
back.
Though.
It is a good
It's done.
feeling, yeah.
Nice.
And I started programming the Open Prep Fridays.
Oh, cool.
So Open Prep. And one of the Fridays is going to be the first open workout we did last year.
Oh, yay!
So I got to say, I'm not sure if you'll have done it when this podcast comes out. It might be around the same time, but I'm
so
really
cool.
looking forward to
Me too.
seeing how you do from like last year's like actual open to this year and see like what is the score difference.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that
so
too.
stay tuned on the podcast. We'll bring this up in one of our future
and
dates
Sandra,
when we
if you're
come back.
listening, you'll, I hope you can judge me, but I promise I won't pull the bird because I remember I was she's like, come on, no rep, don't get it. I'm like, screw you.
Yeah.
I'm just here to move. I don't care. I just had a concussion.
Give me the rep. Come on
Come
now.
on
It was
now.
close enough. What were you getting no rep on?
I forget.
You
I think
forget.
maybe my burpees or my
Gotcha.
yeah.
You're jumping maybe?
My jumping, or she was just saying, go faster, go faster. I'm like, no, I'm not going faster. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm sure Sandra remembers and she'll remind me why I did that. But
All right.
all love.
Do you want to have any closing statements before we get out of here? Put you on the spot here.
Sign up for the Open.
Sign up for the Open.
It's a lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it there then.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you.
We appreciate all you listeners, and make sure, if you haven't, to give us a rating and a review, and we'll hopefully get Vanessa's story out to some new people.
Yep.
And with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
All right. Bye.